feel like there's no introduction needed. SA Rugby's Director of Rugby, Rassie Erasmus. I want to thank you for taking the time out to chat to us today.
No, well, thanks for having me. As I said to you, it's our day off, so we can nice to relax and chat about a few other things.
One thing I learned about you reading, first of all, we're here because you released a book about your life from when you were lighty, as you say a lot in the book, to now. One thing I did learn about you while reading it is that you get nervous in front of media. You're a shy guy.
Yeah.
Is this day with all this media talking about you specifically, does that get you nervous?
Yeah, I think first of all, just writing a book is nerve-wracking when you make that decision. And the first time when I spoke to Terry, who's the CEO of Pan Macmillan, and I asked about what would people want to know about me. There's a documentary, and and then the basic thing was, listen, in 90 minutes or 80 minutes of a documentary, there's so many other things that you can describe in detail, and you always think, but do you want to be in the limelight again? Or no, that's not at all the case. It's. I think a lot of people will, I don't know what's the correct word in English, but will sort of associate with. It looks like it's going okay on Facebook and Instagram, and everybody lives this virtual great life. But we all have our problems, we all have got our struggles, and we all maybe have to hammer down the door to get eventually what we have, and then we still don't get it. So, yeah, sitting here, it's a bit embarrassing having the book. One of the players asked me for the book, and I gave him one this morning. And yeah, it's a weird feeling walking around with a book like that, because as you will see in the book, and I don't know if people will believe it or they will like it or associate with it, but I'm actually not a guy who likes to be out there and be controversial. Yeah, it's just the job I've chosen pushed me into those things. Just go, yeah, I'm a bit nervous.
I would like to ask where the idea of the book came from. Was it your idea? I know that you get nervous because it's basically your whole life in 300 or so pages. Whose idea was it to, okay, let's get this book going?
No, it's actually Terry, the CEO, phoned me. We were playing a match in the rugby championship, and Terry said, "Can we just have just an informal discussion?" And I said to her, "Yes, Terry, I don't read books, and if I read books or I watch documentaries, after a while, it always feels like the person who's the book about or the documentary comes out as the hero on the other side, and and that's the last thing I would want people to think was, and I think when people read the book, they'll see, but I acknowledge a lot of mistakes, and I learned a lot from doing things wrong and seeing other people's doing things wrong or right. And then I said to, but will people be interested in that? Because that would be the only thing that I would like to get across, is that, people are supporting us, and people say we give hope. I say, no, we give happiness. Because we win, everybody's happy for that while, but everybody doesn't now think I can be a Springbok. Everybody can think, black and white and colored and Indian, Muslim and Christian, we're working together and we're functioning, and I would like people to understand why I think we do get that right in the Springbok team, and probably how I got to do the things the way we do it, and what brought that to the way I do things.
You obviously, with the job that you do, you're in the spotlight a lot, and people will form their own opinions about you. Now that you have a book, would you recommend to those people, listen, I have a book, maybe it'll change your opinion about me?
I wouldn't say it's going to change your opinion to the better of me. You're going to like me more, or you're going to think I've got a soft side on me, or this guy's really intact with his emotional side. No, I'm trying to say what was my reasoning behind certain things when we were doing certain things, and still make up your own opinion. Sometimes in a tweet or in a documentary or when you're replying or you're on the back foot because you did something. It gets explained a little bit more in the book. Again, like the referee issue, the thing that we talk about a lot in the book is embarrassment, and how I hated to be embarrassed and embarrass people. And again, just the other day, halfway through the book, somebody said to me, "But do you realize that even though you're right and the facts are right, when you bring something a certain way across, even though that person will acknowledge, you're still embarrassing him." And that gave me a massive wake-up call again, and think, but that's not me. So yes, there's definitely a more raw, open side of how I think and how I operate, but I won't say that's softer. I won't say that's the correct way, but it will give another perspective.
What I also picked up, or something that I didn't know personally, is that you had an integral part in transformation, the transforming, getting more players of color in the Springboks side. And what I found, like you growing up, you're very cornered off from what was happening in the greater South Africa. How important was transformation to you when you were put into that role, when it was your responsibility to figure out how to integrate or transform, rather, the Springbok team?
Yeah, I think it comes down to embarrassment again. I think when you want to fix transformation, and your mindset is just white out, black in, then you are embarrassing the black player or the colored player, of course, he feels he's just a number there. You're embarrassing him again. You're taking the white player out because you're embarrassing him again because, listen, you're white, you're not good enough. We're a group of people that formed the Elite Players Development Pathway way back in 2013. Herman Massimla, Nico Serfontein, Louis Kuhn. There's a lot of guys that worked with me there, and started in 2013 at under 15, looking at players. So we found a system where when they get to junior Springbok or SA schools, that there's a pool of players that has been through our EPD pathway and filtering system and fundamentals and roadmaps on them, but it was none a quota system. It was a system where we're transforming, which most people see as black in, white out, but transforming is change. We've got women-owned management team, children and their wives can join the players when we on tour. We have Muslims, we've got Christian, we've got guys who come from rural areas, we've got farm boys, we've got guys who can only speak Afrikaans of Xhosa. So it's changing. It's not transforming black and white. It's changing the whole environment, and I think that was a big part of my responsibility.
Are you proud? Because I feel like the Springbok team now, even the under-20s that recently competed, I feel like it is more representative than it ever has been in the past. Are you proud of the way it looks now?
I am, but it's not just through my own doing, it's through all those managers that's part of the EPD systems. An interesting thing, the guys that played actually in the Junior Bok competition now, and the Junior World Cup or Junior Bok competition, which we came third, is actually the group that had that 2-year COVID lull where nothing happened, and you could actually see, obviously we were still virtually having meetings and doing fundamentals and testing, but normally we would hands off, and we would have a camp. We will get them in, we'll get to know their characters, we'll get to place them maybe in a better school, we'll get a mentor for him, and that almost was a bit in limbo, and you could see it a little bit on the way the boys work, not so cohesive, but yes, I do feel that it's now a system that if we just keep on going with it, it can just get better and better.
Yeah. I think this is more a compliment to David OSullivan, in that when I'm reading, I feel like you are talking directly to me in the language that he uses. How did he make that right? Like, I don't understand how it's his writing. we had a moment just at the beginning where he said that you didn't write anything. How did he get you to come across in the book?
I think the one thing, as I said to you, out of the few books that I've read or documentaries that I've checked, it always felt when the person comes out on the other side sophisticated, knowing red wine, white wine, how to dine, how to speak, to talk the correct language, is the perfect role model, doesn't make mistakes. And I feel that's sometimes disheartening to people. Yeah, winning the World Cup, sure, I've got a talent that God gave me, and luckily with all the people working together, we won the World Cup. But that's not to say, I still not nervous in front of the camera, or my accent is all of a sudden, or my vocabulary is great, or I don't bugger up and make a mistake here, and sometimes in my personal life make a wrong decision, or we also have illnesses, and I asked David that I think if it comes across that it's this third person writing and clamoring this person up, then I don't want to do this book, because then it's just another lie. And I think people are tired of Instagram and Facebook and those perfect lives, because it makes me sometimes think, oh, but are there so many people that gets it right? I think there's a lot of us that gets it wrong. And I think David really, really did that well.
One of the things you also touch on in the book is your father. I wanted to know how difficult it was to recall all those memories with him.
Yeah, I made sure I bounced everything off my mom and off my sister and off my family. Of course, again, I don't want to embarrass my father. I think the greatness of what my father did while struggling with those things, the things that we learned from him still whilst going through that. I couldn't say those things in the documentaries, like my dad died, we buried him, and I went back to the army. But there was a lot of things happening before, prior, during, and afterwards. Even when I got back to the army, our guys supported me there, where I didn't actually have a time to actually, was it mourn? What's the right word?
Yeah,
My
mourn,
father's
yeah.
death, and I was 18, and there was guys who was 23, 24 with me in the army, and they said, hey, come and sit here, let's just talk about this. And then asking my mum small little details, and remembering things like my dad coming one day, because he worked for Bantu administration in those days, and he was so upset this one day. And then we did some research, and me and David, and we got the guy actually that took the photo of the thing my father was so upset about that happened in Utenhage. And I think I'm much prouder of myself of how I could speak about my father here, because uh, well, listen, my father was an alcoholic, I suffered. It's not that at all. My father was an alcoholic, and he suffered, and he struggled, but hell, he's learned us a lot. And I think the book does it much better than I'm sitting there and have to cram in 5 minutes everything about my dad. So
Yeah.
I'm glad of it.
While you were, during your playing career, you were analyzing rugby games. From that, did you always know that you would go in the direction that you've gone in terms of coaching?
I really just enjoyed it, and to be honest with you, I always just loved rugby, and this patch where I grew up, you'll see the people that lived around me, which is my heroes. And when I got into rugby, I quickly realized that, some guys really just enjoy the playing, but I like the build-up and knowing the opposition and analyzing. And first did it with 2 VHS video machines, and put the one full tape in and just record the scrums, take the tape out, just record the lineouts, take the tape out, and then I would make a motivational video of any given Sunday speech and Eye of the Tiger, and then I'll play that for the guys halftime. But for me, the satisfaction eventually was, apart from me playing a little bit better because I was analyzing opposition, I was seeing how other teammates, a lot of guys who play rugby is not their first love. They love Some guys were farmers, some guys were teachers, some guys were mechanics, and they also played rugby from the amateur era where I came from. So it was nice to see that guys start enjoying the analysis and latching on. A guy like Nick Mallett allowing me to do it, Laurie Mains allowing me to do it. And then eventually I somehow bought a computer and started doing it myself. Not knowing that that would be my saving grace, that when my foot actually broke at 29, at least I had that background of analyzing and could go into coaching.
What is the feeling like in a World Cup year? What's it like now?
I think we've got a squad of 41 players. There's going to be 8 or 9 who falls out, but still 5 or 6 on standby. I think it's now just creating minutes, more load into the correct players, getting guys like Andre and Sia and Ox back hopefully before the All Black last warm-up test match, and then pick the best 33 guys on form. So, all good.
SA Rugby's Director of Rugby, Rassie Erasmus, thank you so much for taking the time out to chat to us today. I wish you and the squad and Jacques all of the best for the upcoming World Cup.
Thank you, and good luck with your heritage stuff and all of that, and thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
This is 5FM.